Welcome everyone to our second session of the Summer Sports Forum 2021. Today we are generally discussing the impact of large sports events on economic development and social regeneration of the host city. This session will address the sports events and their social impact on the community. Today we have a great panel who would enrich us with a lot of experience. I would like to start with presenting Mayor Bonnie Crombie. As a great fan myself, Mayor Crombie is the sixth and current mayor of Mississauga of Ontario since December 1st, 2014. She has an MBA from York University's Schulich School of Business and has earned a corporate director's certificate from the Institute of Corporate Directors at the Rotman School of Management. Welcome, Mayor Crombie, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks very much for having me. I just pointed out that Mississauga is the sixth largest city in Canada, and I'm the fourth mayor. The previous two mayors were from before the town, the communities amalgamated and became the city of Mississauga.
Thank you for the correction, and always welcome. We also have Mr. Nasser Khori. He's part of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 LOC. Director of the program's Generation Amazing, Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. Mr. Khori comes with an extensive experience of working in Qatar's not-for-profit industry, and he was previously leading the Doha debates team and also served as the head of Qatar Foundation's partnership and strategic initiatives. Welcome to our forum, Mr. Nasser. I would like also to present Mr. Willie Banks, World Athletics champion, three-time Olympian, and former president of the U.S. Olympians Association. He served as chair of the USA Track and Field Athletes Advisory Committee, in addition to serving as the organization vice president as well. Welcome to the forum, Willie. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Allow me to start with you by asking, you've been there, you've seen how contributing to sport is actually contributing to each and every individual who's watching, who's learning, who's enjoying. And that social impact is right there, like the sun. No one can hide it. It's definitely present. How do you see it? How do you define it? And where do you see it going from here, given everything that has changed from the past to the present and the future?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank Samar Kamal for my personal invitation. He's a good friend, and I've learned a lot from Samar. So thank you, Samar, for inviting me. I'd also like to thank ACSA for putting this forum together, because it's, you know, whenever we get together and we can talk about things that matter, it makes the world better. And then finally, both you and Samar have mentioned the city of Mississauga.
Mississauga, yes.
And it's kind of like Mississippi in the United States.
Right.
But I want to thank the mayor for taking care of the organization and allowing us to be a part of your city. So thank you. Now back to the question. So I've been involved with many different sports, including the world. I was involved in World Cup of Soccer in the United States. I have been involved with, of course, World Athletics. I sit as one of the 21 council members on the International Federation, and I have served as an advisor and consultant to many cities that bid on major events like the Olympic Games, World Cup, etc. And what I've found in both the participant, both as a participant in sports, as an official of sports, as an organizer of sport, is that it can have a tremendous and lasting social as well as economic benefit on the city. Now, most of the time, people talk about the economic benefit and they worry about dollars and cents. And I can understand that as a governor, as a mayor of a city. And we have to think of how we're going to spend those taxpayer dollars. Now, in the United States, the taxpayers' dollars don't get spent on the event itself. There is some contribution in infrastructure for any large event. But what people fail to realize is what a dynamic, lasting effect an event like the Olympic Games, the World Cup, any world championship can have on the culture, health, fitness of its citizen, the sustainability of its livelihood of the city or region that any event is held in. One of the things that I always talk to cities about is the impact in terms of how we promote, the culture of the city, the civic pride. That's always important, because without civic pride, your city becomes old and people start leaving and you lose your young people. And that's something you can't afford. That's worth more than money. The fact that we promote inclusiveness, sustainability, the relationship with other regions and cities and even other cultures is extremely important for a legacy of an event that comes to any area. And when we talk about that, we all know, and this was a big shock to me, we now know how important tax dollars are to sport. Coming from the United States, where tax dollars are really not allowed to be spent directly on sport, we don't have like a minister of sport or anything like that. We use commercial dollars. But I'm in charge of a world plan, and we had to do an international survey of our member federations as well as any of our stakeholders in our sport. And I found out, or maybe the other people knew, but I found out that 80% of the countries that participate in the world of athletics, they get all of their dollars, all of their support from their government. And I was like blown away. I should have known that. It seems logical, but I didn't, because I came from the United States where that wasn't happening. So I realized all of a sudden how important it is to be able to justify spending those important tax dollars. And so then I started to learn about how positive an event can be on the young people. It can be positive for those who are disadvantaged or marginalized in a community, because you can bring them and be inclusive. So going through that and understanding how important it was to raising the value of a city through sport was an amazing transformation for my thinking.
Wonderful.
I'll end it there.
Wonderful. What a great ending, because this will allow me to transition to Mayor Crombie and put it that way. Success requires leadership. Leadership must have a goal of an ending, and that transformation needs a vision. Mississauga is my home, and I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of you and what you do, and how we become a leading, a respected, a spot on the map that everybody strives to go to. Mississauga is a great city? What is your vision for this city? And how do you think we as a community can contribute to it?
Well, first, let me say how honored I am to participate. And Willie, such a pleasure to meet you virtually, a big fan. And everything Willie has said, I would repeat in strides. My vision, of course, is to create a vibrant, inclusive city, but one that has all components, including a very active creative sector, which we have now 8 major film studios, and of course, a sports hub. And we have been fortunate to host quite a number of sporting events, from the Pan Am Games, the Ontario Summer Games, the Little NHL, which is the native hockey leagues, because of our wonderful facilities that we have that we continue to invest in. And we do have a sports strategy that will bring more competitions to our great city. But I do want to speak a little bit about the same sorts of things that Willie has spoken about, because
it's 6 o'clock.
Sorry?
Yes, please.
So I want to speak about, from the city's perspective, the economic generator that sporting events like the ones I mentioned and Olympic Games can be. We know that a study of all the Olympic Games from 1972 through to 2008 showed that the revenues that resulted outweighed the costs. And what we see is not only the pride that is bonds the community together, and pride in our athletes, the inspiration that brings, having competitive athletes and role models for our youth to aspire to, but the pride of hosting and of featuring your city and your facilities. And of course, notwithstanding, there's a lot of economic generation with respect to boosting the local economy. Not only do the hospitality industries benefit, both the hotels, the restaurants, of course, the local shops, the local tourism sites. It brings together different levels of government for investment in infrastructure. So there's job creation as well. And we saw with the Pan Am Games here in Toronto and Mississauga, as well, significant investment in facilities, which of course created jobs. And there was that huge ripple effect, lasting facilities that the communities can use. And even the housing that was created for the athletes turned around again and converted into affordable housing for families and for individuals. So much positive impact that sporting events can generate, of course. And so we of course take a lot of pride in hosting these and continue to have a strategy to attract more and more competitive sports to our city. What else can I tell you? Oh, some of the other infrastructure projects that were created during the Pan Am Games was the UP Express that linked the airport to the downtown. That was needed for a large period of time. For a long time, we needed that rail link into the city, because of course, most major international cities have a rail link into their downtown from the airport. And finally, one was built using government, federal and provincial government dollars, not local dollars, to build the link. So that was terrific. And of course, I already referenced the housing that was built and the Pan Am sports facilities, the sports centers that had been built as a result. And I spoke a little bit as well about the pride created in the local communities. And the mentorship that's involved for young athletes. I'm sure Willie has spawned a generation of young people who want to be a high level of performance as he was as well. So those are some of the reasons that we got involved in Ontario Summer Games, Parasport Games, 55 plus games, seniors games, Little Native Hockey League, etc. So great benefits to cities, including not only talent generation as well. I will say that we are very blessed here in Mississauga to have such high profile athletes such as Bianca Andreescu, who of course makes us so proud on the international stage, and RJ Barrett, a basketball player for the Knicks, and he's local hometown boy, not to mention countless other athletes and in hockey and in basketball, etc., that come from our region. So economic generator for sure, the bringing together of different levels of government, the investment that is created through infrastructure development and creation, and the sense that different levels of government come together to work together. And that doesn't always happen because of partisanship, and the federal government may be of a different party or leaning than the provincial governments, and the municipal governments don't have the kinds of funds to build those large infrastructure projects, but everyone comes together and it does create a sense of pride in the community, and even binds our citizens and our residents who want to feature the local community, our cities, and are very proud of our cities and want to be ambassadors for our cities. And of course, featuring our city internationally through sport does create, foreign direct investment and travel, etc. So it has so many advantages. And so that's why we continue to have a strategy to continue to attract sports and sports competition to the city of Mississauga. I think I'll leave it there, and I'm sure.
Thank you for that, Mayor Crombie. This is an international forum. We have almost from every continent, someone who's participating with passion. And for those who don't know you, we have witnessed how you placed Mississauga through the hardest times as a role model, well-planned, well-executed type of a city, from planning to engagement all the way through in the hard times and the times of cheer and happiness. That experience does not come easy, and the outcome is always monitored because people would want to gauge, how can I be as successful as this community's leadership and the direction they're taking? Mr. Nasser Khori is actually joining us with a live experience coming from Qatar, and as we know, the next World Cup is going to be hosted there. And soon enough, their programs, their effort, and everything they're doing is going to come to life. The whole world is watching, no pressure, but we're anticipating a lot of great things. Mr. Nasser, would you be kind enough to share with us your experience of what has been happening and where you are right now, and how do you see Qatar as a country, and then you select which city you would want to talk about. How is this coming together? What can we learn from you?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Cal, for that intro. And I'm really happy to be with you today. And just, to speak briefly on the World Cup and the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. So basically, we're a committee that is in charge of putting together the tournament, working on infrastructure, but also like the legacy programs, and that's kind of what I want to touch upon today. So obviously, with the World Cup, the tournaments, the stadiums, we're almost 80% ready. Almost all the stadiums are completed. We're hosting the Arab Cup towards the end of this year, which is going to be a test event for the 2022 tournament, and that's all the Arab countries, 23 teams going to come to Doha in November, December. So that's, we're very excited for that. But specifically, I think one thing that we did, and there was a lot of focus on in the early stages of the bid for the World Cup, is the legacy piece. And, everything that has been planning around hosting the World Cup, there's a conversation that started around, legacy and kind of sustainable, long-term impact. So one of the things that we, Qatar is doing differently is that, this World Cup is the most sustainable World Cup. Travel time within stadiums is everything is within 60-kilometer radius. All the stadiums are, LEED certified. So this, there's an extra kind of focus on Qatar 2022 kind of being a carbon neutral tournament, which no other country has done before. So that's that's really exciting. That's one piece of the legacy, obviously, but then there's the human and social legacy that I'll discuss further. we have a program that was initiated called Generation Amazing in 2010. The idea behind Generation Amazing was that we wanted to use the power and the privilege of hosting the World Cup to kind of shed light on the different, challenges that we have as kind of, regionally, but also globally. So we decided to focus to shed light on the refugee crisis. At that time, the Arab Spring was kind of fresh. There was a lot of refugee influx, around Jordan, Lebanon, specifically from Syria and Palestine. So we decided to work on the Football for Development program, the Generation Amazing, which started by building a couple of simple pitches, football pitches for kids to have access to in different marginalized and disadvantaged communities in Jordan, Lebanon. We also worked around and within refugee camps as well in that area. And we saw the impact that we had through our curriculum and our programming, and we had the capacity building training program also for the coaches on the ground. So what we do is that we make sure that there's like a commitment and sort of a buy-in from the local community. So we work with local partners to kind of deliver the programming, and including when we build these facilities. There's a lot of partnerships that we develop with CBOs and NGOs on the ground. So basically, we started in Jordan, we expanded within the region. We went to some of the Asian countries as well. So in India, Nepal, Pakistan, we built over 28 different safe spaces. These are spaces that we call Generation Amazing, and for kids to come to and basically learn about football for development and play through sport. So that's kind of our model. And we've seen the impact that we've had on even a lot of disadvantaged and marginalized communities, whether it's girls, boys, across the board. It's been really interesting. And the idea is that we want to target 1 million beneficiaries by December 2022. And so far we're at I think 750,000 beneficiaries, and we're in over 10 countries, and we're also expanding. So in the States, for instance, in North America, we have a partnership with CONCACAF, and I'm going to mention this because obviously Canada is part of the CONCACAF region, but we started a program and with CONCACAF last year. And the idea behind the partnership with CONCACAF is that the Qatar national team is competing in the CONCACAF tournament with the Qatar Football Association. And the idea is that we also partnered with CONCACAF on delivering the Generation Amazing Football for Development component, as well as a kind of CSR project as well. So we've been working with CONCACAF and CONCACAF's Play Next program, which is in partnership with Nike, and we are developing. We're actually launching the programming in 10 MAs per year. So it's a program over 4 years, and we're going to target 10 countries under the CONCACAF member associations umbrella. So we're launching in 10 countries this year and next year. Eventually also Canada will be part of the countries that we're going to roll out programming in with CONCACAF. So that's really relevant, and for us it's really important as well, because obviously the next World Cup is going to be in between, shared between Canada, Mexico, and the US. And, for us, that's really important. We're also starting the conversations around legacy for the 2026 tournament. But I think, one thing that I just want to go back to and just, shed light on is, the sport for development area, and kind of, hosting a major tournament, there's so much potential to kind of, do more with sports generally. And I think sports is specifically soccer has kind of a very transformative power to kind of bring people together, to unite people, to to teach different values and skills that so basically we use the sport as a way to attract kids and to come on the field, but we don't really focus on the skills or building skills in football. We focus on other areas like building social skills, communication skills, leadership, teamwork, etc. And those are kind of values that a lot of kids in these marginalized communities don't necessarily learn through school or at home. So it really, you know, offers a unique experience. And I just want to also say that, you know, we have a curriculum that's aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the Qatar National Vision 2030. And, you know, that's kind of a program that we're also launching, a Football for Development certification program for coaches and community coaches that want to enroll. And this is kind of another legacy component of the Qatar World Cup 2022 and Generation Amazing. So I actually had a presentation, but I think for the sake of the format, it might not be the best way to go. So I hope, you know, I kind of summarized everything, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know.
In fact, you raised a lot of great points for us to discuss. And let's pick it up and make it more of an open forum, because you brought in the essential elements of success for any community, their youth, the focus on youth, and how you can get them to lead their way into turning sports into a style of life, a way of life, and develop that community through growth, focus on values, commitment, many of the terms that we all are keen on, ensuring they reside well in any and every community. Mr. Banks, you've had your fair share of developing, contributing, leading, and personally lending a helping hand, an expert opinion in all of these. What do you think about that?
Well, I think, again, my eyes were open because of the recent surveys that I've done around the world. And it was very interesting to me to see how people are affected by sport and how they want to practice sport, but they don't have either the facility or the education to do the sport. And I'm not just talking about running. I'm talking about, you know, as we were talking about football and any of these sports, having that opportunity, being in a war-torn area and not being able to play sport. We have to find ways to help our young people to do this, because it's an outlet, not just physically, but as Nasser was saying, it's an outlet for their education. It's an outlet for socialization of our young people. But there's also another side of it. There's the side where we're educating adults on how to help others and how to help their country and how to help sustainability. And I wrote a list of things that you know, when you do sport, you're educating people or you're increasing the knowledge that is going to be really critical for the rest of, you know, of life, really. So for instance, we're educating our officials on how to be better officials in sport, how to be better officials in governing of sport, as well as governing their country. You're educating, you know, your security officers, how to protect your, you know, venues, how to protect your city, how to protect your country. You're educating immigration on new methods of protecting your country. You're talking about how to utilize and educate your doctors and nurses and other, your EMT on health and fitness. All of this comes from sport, new ways of handling illnesses. Look at this whole idea of having a bubble and making sure that viruses don't escape the bubble. That is a new creation that came out of sport. Watching the NBA have to just sit in one facility for months at a time and not being able to go see family and friends and how you deal with that. That had to be created. That was something that was not typical. So when we think of how we educate our kids, how we educate our citizens, I think sport is a great tool to do that. So before I continue my harangue, I'll let others jump in.
Thank you very much. And I think we were put on the spot as Canada, and I'm going to be specific about Mississauga. The next FIFA World Cup is rolling our way. How are we getting ready for that? What is in your agenda for it, Mayor Crombie?
So that is a great question. And I know that just today, everyone will be glued to their televisions this afternoon as England plays Italy.
Oh.
Friends on all sides. I have no idea what will happen. I think this is the first time England's been in the Cup since the late 60s. So very exciting, but it is that excitement, right? And it's featuring athletes and inspiration for kids who, are seeking out athletes as role models and as inspirations. And as our other colleague has said, through sports, they learn so many other skills, whether it's team building or self-discipline or respect for other players, time management, etc. It's a multidisciplinary when you think about it. So certainly we are thinking a lot about FIFA when it's coming to Edmonton and Toronto, and we can be a supporting facility as well. And I'm thinking in terms of, there has been talk about making applications to build a soccer stadium here, and where would we put it? But certainly the grounds and facilities that we currently have could be training facilities, practice facilities for any of the teams that will be playing in Toronto. So certainly there will be that opportunity. So, it's a major infrastructure investment, and we would be delighted if one of the other levels of government wanted to make those kinds of investments in Mississauga. And certainly there has been some talk about it, but there certainly will generate a lot of excitement. Toronto is very proximate to Mississauga, as you know, just a short 20-minute drive, and they'll be welcoming all teams, athletes, coaches, families, etc. And certainly we will be playing a very large supporting role with respect to hotel accommodations, restaurant accommodations, training and practicing fields. So it's a great economic generator for us as well. So a lot of excitement. And at the end of the day, whether we'll get that new soccer facility or not, I'm not sure. We've been debating where we would put it if we could get the investment. We have a lot of new major developments happening around the waterfront and mixed use communities that we're very proud of. We're building light rail in Mississauga. So much is going on, and whether or not it'd be appropriate to take on one more commitment at this time, I'm not sure, but there's certainly a lot our city could do as a neighboring city to the city of Toronto to play a very large supporting role.
Thank you for that. And I would like to follow on with another question. This is a bi-directional path where the government will support the community, but also the community and the organization need to work closely with the government. The role of the city will be critical in enabling the sports active organizations. What is the city doing in order for those organizations to be engaged? And who needs to take the initiative? Should the organizations approach the city in order for them to be included, or is the city taking care of that already and reaching out?
So certainly we have a very large community program, a big, large department, and we just ask that groups approach us and register. Registering is very important. The community group registry program for any sports organization that's looking to partner with the city. And once they're registered as a group, what happens is they get certain benefits like preferred booking times and also at preferable rates for the fields or the arenas, the sports facilities, etc. So local groups that are registered in Mississauga, if they have to have a certain percentage of membership that resides in our city, will get preferred treatment. They will get preferred times and rates. And I think that's a great benefit. And then we work with them as well. We offer support and training expertise. Everyone at the city. But the first step is really to register at, at our website at mississauga.ca/community groups, and they'll all register there. And when we develop policies that are in our master plan as it relates to sports amenities, we include sports groups as valuable stakeholders that we consult with to provide input to us and help to inform us on how to continue to develop our sports programming in our city.
Thank you for that. And with such great topics and input, I'm pretty sure we have a lot of questions waiting for us from our viewers. I would like to open it now for our participants and viewers to ask away, and let's have the last 5 to 6 minutes conversation all together. Who would like to participate here? Please come forward.
Allow me to jump in. First of all, thank you so much for the nice session. I love it. It's everyone give a valuable information. Just my question to Willie, my friend, he's like a star with that. We always love to hear from him. So what about Tokyo Olympics? What is the situation now? How is the audience? Are they going? Are you going yourself? So give us just information about Tokyo. From you, we can know a lot.
Thank you so much, Samer. It's always good to see your smiling face, buddy. I wanted to answer your question. Yes, I will be going to Tokyo. I leave in a couple of weeks. I'll be an official for World Athletics. There will be no fans for the games. Unfortunately, they made that decision about 3 days ago. It is, I think, going to be a very difficult games for the athletes because, as you know, we need that kind of encouragement. And a person, especially if like me, that needs the audience participation when we jump or run, or it's very valuable. But sadly, these games won't have that.
Yeah. And the next question to the mayor, Bonnie, the great personality in Mississauga, the famous famous mayor. I have a question. I have a question for you about now. You know that the reopening is in Mississauga and Ontario is in July 16, like after a few days. So many indoor sports are going back, and a lot of I think organization will be reactive again. So did you receive a lot of applications? What's the situation now?
So the situation, because it is just evolving now, we're just starting the reopening next Friday, and we're continuing to ask everyone to go slowly and follow the rules and continue to mask. We had these same case counts last year at this time, and then we had 2 more lockdowns. Let's not forget, Toronto, Peel region have been in lockdown from November 23rd to June 30th, the longest in North America, frankly. And so we don't ever want to undertake another lockdown. And so we're asking people to go very slowly, follow the rules, and continue to practice good safety measures and protocols with respect to physical distancing. I think the vaccine rates now are very high, and that will protect us against a 4th wave. But so we're about 80% first dose and about 60% second dose. So we're getting there. And things are looking up, and once everyone's vaccinated, even the youth stepped up so quickly. The 12 to 17-year-olds, we just opened it up about a month ago for them, and they're already 2/3 first dose, 40% second dose. So very good numbers, but not a lot of requests yet. A lot of questions. What is safe? When will you be allowing applications? Can groups play in our fields? But I'm sure it will come. I'm sure it will come. First, we got the parents out asking about the camps, and the organized sports are allowed now. And so this will come, and it will come quickly, but we're just asking to please continue to be safe and practice safety protocols, good public health protocols.
Thank you. last question for Nasser, and then I will leave the audience. So Nasser, Qatar is like a 1 year or maybe 1 year and few months to launch the World Cup. And I noticed that the ticket sales is not yet launched. Is it because of the pandemic you are not launching the ticket sales for the World Cup, or was the policy of promoting and bringing fans to the World Cup?
That's a good question, Kala. To be honest, I'm not quite sure why the tickets have not yet been on sale, but I think due to the pandemic, yes, there's obviously delays, and I think because we're hosting the Arab Cup at the end of the year, so the FIFA World Cup 2022 tickets will be live right after the tournament. That's my assumption. But we can definitely check and get back to you on that and confirm the dates for the tickets.
Thank you.
Okay.
Could I ask a question of Nasser?
Yes, please.
So my experience in '94 was very interesting, but I'm wondering, World Cup in the United States back in '94 led to the Major League Soccer league here in the United States. What is going to be the top legacy for the World Cup in Qatar?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Willie. So there's a lot of different angles that the team itself, the Qatar national team, has been competing on a global scale. So that we competed in the Euros recently. I don't know if you guys were attending the early matches. We're part of the CONCACAF region as well. So we're actually here in Houston now, and the team is going to be competing in the Golden Cup. So I think over the last 10 years since we won the bid for the World Cup, there's been like a lot of investment and development of our national team, and I think that's a really interesting. We won the Asian Championship in the AFC champion. We're the AFC champions from 2019. That was a very big accomplishment for our team, and the idea is that by 2022 our team is going to have is going to be, play a couple of games, and hopefully, do pretty well during the World Cup. So that's kind of, one aspect of, the development of the national team. There's a lot of other programming, and, on the grassroots, scale, there's been a lot of support with tournaments across the country. There's a lot of, support and push for women's football as well in Qatar. That's interesting, and there's where the conversations are now happening with the association, and to see if there could be like a club league as well for women's in Qatar that would be announced and launched soon. So there's a lot of different legacy when it comes to the teams and the football, the game itself, but then there's legacy around the stadiums. Just to mention, I don't know if I touched upon this briefly, but all the stadiums have plans for post-tournament. So every stadium, when it was designed, it was in consultation with the local communities around the stadium, and basically taking the needs of that community. So all the stadiums are going to be, redeveloped into mixed-use spaces for the community, whether it's a shopping mall, a clinic, a school. So there's a lot of interesting concepts around the infrastructure of the World Cup. So we're not going to have any of the white elephants that a lot of the other countries had, like South Africa and Brazil, for example. Every single stadium has a purpose post-tournament, and a lot of the stadium capacity is going to go down as well, because we don't need 80,000 seat stadiums, or so there's going to be there's a program that we're also working on in partnership with FIFA, which is we're going to be donating a lot of the upper tiers of the stadiums. So then these are going to go to developing countries to build sporting infrastructure, countries that don't have access to a football pitch. So that's another program that we're also working on, and there's a lot of legacy components around the FIFA World Cup 2022. Those are just some that I mentioned, but there's a lot of other programs from sustainability to across the board to football for development. There's a lot of kind of thought and investment and a strategy around legacy.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And what a great ending when we all thinking about the other and the repurposing of what we're doing now for the future. Mr. Khori, Mr. Banks, Mayor Crombie, what a valuable time. What a great opportunity for us to hear from you. Thank you so much. You have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.